What's up guys, Jordan from Bennett's Customs. We're back on another episode. This one I'm looking forward to. My back, not so much. We have some panels in front of us. They are 1934 Ford. They are from a good mate of mine's, 5-window coupe. We want to cover sort of the basics, the layout, kind of spacing I like, different style louvers, and obviously punching them, and this kind of the setup that I usually use with the press brake. Kind of want to show you a little bit more of the laying out and in-depth part of it prior to actually punching them. So let's get into the video. Just before we get started with this video, you guys, I just wanted to quickly mention for those within Western Australia and sort of surrounding areas, the Australian Street Rod Nationals are in Mandurah on the 22nd to the 25th of March, and Travis and crew from Rad Rides has really helped sort of organize the event and organize to have myself as well as Carl from Make It Custom there for both the Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And we will be doing sort of a live Q&A. I think we're gonna be doing some demos on a bit of tooling as well. And we're just gonna try and be there and interacting with you guys and you know, obviously checking out the show and the rest of the atmosphere. Make sure you guys jump over. We'll put the link in the description and sign up, and make sure you guys show an appearance. It's really good, especially for Western Australia, to have, you know, big numbers like this for a show. So it'd be really cool to see everybody. Anyways, let's get back to the show. All right, so first things first, I'm just gonna explain to you sort of the tooling that I'm using. And these louvers usually come in a bag, set up just like this. It comes with a 4-inch and a 3-inch die with a plate that goes on the bottom. And it also comes with this little block with our springs in it as well. For those who do want some really good quality dies, I would highly suggest getting in contact with Jeff Tuckner at Tuck Industries. He's in the States, and he sort of produces and manufactures sort of all different shapes and sizes, some with some really neat sort of like little peaks on them, and other, you know, traditional square or sorry, clamshell style to some rectangle ones and all others. But really nice dude, and amazing quality. I can't wait to get my hands on a set of the dies as well. I sort of modified the base plate, or I'll call it like the female part of the die itself. I've explained this before in a previous one when we were punching the Roadster. I really like sort of the early clamshell style, and that just has more of like a rounder back to it. So you can see here where this is quite rounded out. And basically what I had done was I eliminated sort of this part here. So if we were to just kind of round this off, this would be a pretty big 4-inch clamshell, but there's definitely an application for it. And we eliminated all of that. And then this piece came out nice and wide. And then we just sort of shaped it in there, sanded it out, made sure that, you know, there wasn't any hard edges or anything on the inside, with still keeping that nice face on there, and that kind of gives you a really nice imprint and a really clean line. So what we'll do is we'll take these off the table, and then we'll start to explain sort of the spaces and sort of layout, kind of talking about how many rows we're going to be able to do, and, you know, parallel or angled rows for hoods and that. And we'll cover kind of what we're going to do on these panels. A couple people have asked me about spacing on this. The spacing sort of is dictated by, I guess, like the width and length of what you want to try and louver. 7 rows on a deck lid, or even 8. I mean, if you did 8, looks good as well, but I think that center line really looks nice. These are a like 3-inch wide louver. I've explained that before. They are about 35 mil from peak to peak. That's kind of the spacing that I use. And then spaces between, I believe, are, kind of right around 50 mil. 2 inches is sort of the space that I have between them. And then obviously your breathing room, you kind of have about, each one from sort of contact to contact is right around 1 3/8 inches. Again, when you are doing them and you're using it as This one's like a trunk, so it's got the handle at the bottom or the handle at the top like mine for the rumble seat. You want to make sure you are eliminating at least one louver, if not two, depending on how close they are and how big they are. The last thing you want to do is go to grab your handle and you're catching one of your knuckles on these. So make sure you have ample amount of room around that. And then, yeah, just forward think. So if there's anything else that could catch. But first off, when I'm doing any louvering of anything, I'm trying to find like a center point, kind of both ways. And that's just gonna be able to help me dictate exactly where I wanna go with it. Because I know we are gonna run a center row, and then we're gonna do 3 on each side of it, I can kind of get my center row sort of laid out, and then kind of work off that as well. So when I'm marking them too, I don't just mark the width of the louver, I mark center on there as well, because when you go to punch it, there is a center line on your louver. You want to make sure everything lines up perfectly. So I kind of know where my center is now. But the good thing is, this etch prime, if you kind of lay it down, if you have kind of, you know, a clean surface, and when you go to use your scribe, you can really see where it is, which is great. Now that we got our center line this way, I'm going to allow my next 2 lines to run parallel with this one. And then this one, when I'm doing it, I usually just write with a Sharpie over top of it a little C, and I'll just do that in 3 spots. And that will tell me that this is my center line. So the neck, like when you're kind of working and you're staring at that thing, you almost go cross-eyed when you're punching these, and you just always want to make sure that you're on the right line. Now we know that these are 3 inches. So I'm going to do 1.5 inches on either side. Your layout is definitely sort of your most important part of this as well. So, you know, don't rush it. It's definitely going to take some time. Jimmy Shine, he's got, when he does his layout, he's got a, I think he must have CNC'd it, but it was like a nice flat piece, and it has these tiny little grooves nicked out of it, and that's for his placement on where he likes each louver to be. So when you're going through this, and I'm trying to do the math on each one, he just kind of lays it down, knows exactly where it's going to go, and he just puts the notch down, does it on the other side, and then draws a line straight through. So that's kind of something I'd like to do in the future, is maybe make something like that, maybe out of a piece of sort of thinner stainless, and try and get it really accurate, so I could just kind of scribe a line that way. I don't want them to be too spaced out, but I also don't want them to be too crammed. So I just need to sort of find like kind of a happy medium, and then I can sort of space it out if I need to, as far as where they're gonna sit, because we need to get 3 rows in here now. So that's 1, so we need to have 2 more in here. So what we can do is do this point by this point and divide it by 3, which will give us 1, 2, 3, and that'll give us 2 more lines. So let's just see what that does. So 395, terrible maths, divided by 3 equals 131.6. So if I just leave that there and go 131, I'll just go 132 times 2 equals 264, which should be C, C, C. So those are my centers. So our gapping between each one is 2¼ inches, or 55 mil. And I also sometimes feel like if you cram a ton of them in there, it almost is too much. That's why on the Roadster rear panel, they're kind of spaced out a little bit more, and I almost think it looks a little bit better when there's maybe a couple less, where there's just a bit more breathing room and you can really see the shape of them. So now that we have this side sort of where I'd like them, we're gonna measure each one off our center line this way, and then we're gonna replicate it on this side, and then we'll double check kind of off our edges, but then that way we can kind of run, and everything is gonna be referenced off this center line so that everything will kind of be parallel and line up properly. So that's what we're gonna try and do.
Dream big, 'cause boy, you're gonna make it. Stand tall, there's a higher road you're taking. Let go of everything that you know and be wild in the mystery. Yeah. I've been in the darkness for 40 days. I've been searching for holy flames, a sign to light up the way. So can you help me out? Can you help me out? I've been more certain of truth before. I've been called a righteous man before. Yeah, I've been closer to Jesus before. So can you help me out? Oh, can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? But can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? But can you help me out? Can you help me out?
Okay, so we have all of our vertical lines laid out. We have our 7 rows, and now we need to try and work out our horizontal or in pattern for our actual louvers to sort of press into. So we need to make sure that we have a nice square line for these to come down and make contact to, and then we can kind of run that, you know, obviously punch it. Few different ways I usually do this. It depends sort of on the shape that I'm doing. With these, I sort of just kind of go off my center point again. So I know that right there is center of this piece. I set this at the distance between each louver I know is 35 mil. So if I go like that and just roughly go up, I can count how many louvers I'm gonna get, and so on until we reach the top, and then I kind of know how close I'm gonna go. And then what I usually do is, if I can pick a center line across, I'll draw one, and then we'll sort of measure off that as we go. And when I am doing my line, I will only do it in between the 3-inch gap. So for example, if I just line this center guy up here, I know that's my center. I know my center line's over here. So that is going to be my center louver. So we have, this is our center line for our vertical line, and now this is going to be our center line for our horizontal line. So I'm going to skip this one, then I'll come over here, scribe that guy, scribe that guy, and scribe that guy. So now by removing it, now I know where my sections are that are going to have them. So again, it's just to make sure that you don't, for any reason, make a mistake with where your lines are and punching your louvers. Always make sure that you're lining each one up exactly where you know you want it.
that number anyway. The doctor on the line said she'd get me in that day. Dr. Juice, Sister Squeeze, Dr. Juice, Sister Squeeze. Satisfaction guarantee. For that you gotta pay. She said she'd fix my body in that old-fashioned way. She wrapped her arms around me.
Okay, so now that we have the trunk done, the rear fuel tank cover is finished off as well, as many as I could put out. We are now onto the hood. Chris and I, he just came in to visit me and we were kind of spitballing a few ideas with this. And it's a bit tricky. We're not running a roof insert on this. And the biggest thing with running a roof insert is you want all your lines to line up. So if you were to stick a laser over the top of the car, from your first louver from the front of the car right to the back, you want to make sure that everything lines up properly. Having said that, because we're not running a roof insert, and it's just on the trunk and the rear panel and the hood itself, we can kind of play around with a bit different sort of where we're going to move them. And the gapping between each louver is not going to change, but it's purely the separation. So we're running 7 rows, so there's always a center row. But because we have a seam in this hood, if I just spin this around, is that GoPro in your way? No. So if you can imagine, we can't put a center row in this because we have the hood seam through here, or the hinge, sorry. And if we were to play off of, let's imagine this was a 3-inch louver, then our gap to where our next one starts, we're sort of way out here already with the distance that we've kind of allocated on the trunk itself. So we're sort of losing a bit of real estate because this thing starts to curve pretty quickly. So what I'm gonna do is, my edge on both sides is gonna sort of be the same distance as the gapping between each louver. So it'll be a little bit tighter here. So the louver will sort of start, the edge of it will be pretty close to the hinge itself, but then the gapping on each one will be the same right through. So it'll kind of throw your eye a little bit, but you won't notice it from the hood to the back. The distance will still be the same, but we're just not running that center row.
Sister Squeeze. Dr. Juice. Sister Squeeze. Dr. Juice. Sister Squeeze.
All right, so we got the hood done. We got 78 louvers to punch between these. So there's 39 on each side. I've kind of staggered them. Obviously don't want to get too much involved into the curve of these here. That'll obviously get a little bit tricky. We're kind of tapered the bottom ones to sort of flow with the hood shape. We're gonna jump over, we're gonna start to do the trunk lid, and I just want to show you how I'm gonna set it all up. And we'll do a few trial pieces on a couple of on a little scrap piece of steel, and then once we're happy with it, start plugging some louvers. Up using the Gigantor press brake, and you can sort of see this is obviously the big block that we use to, you know, make brakes, as in brakes I mean bends in sheet metal, and was able to sort of allocate using this block for sort of the base of the female portion of the die of the louver, and then the male version just kind of goes up, it locks up into these two pieces here, and then we just tighten these up, and then we can kind of go up and down. So we know when this is in there and bolted in properly, that is a true 90 degrees to the table. It's cut nice and smooth. We're getting a real nice definition along the back side of it. We are, we're ready to go. Let's get a panel in here and start to punch some fucking louvers. Pop, yeah. Moment of truth. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, that looks cool. Oh, like the paint sort of chipped. Lubrication off. That's pretty cool. It's like sort of chipped a bit of the paint. It's definitely an original hood. You can see all the old pitting in the hood, which is kind of neat. And we're gonna see how it all turns out. So that is the last time this trunk lid will ever look like this, because it's about to look like a cheese grater after, which will be pretty cool. I may just drill one small little hole right here like they've done there, and that'll just allow me to get, I've just hooked a little bungee cord on the back, and that just sort of helps me be able to pull it in, and as I go it sort of just supports it, because when you got the last louver here, then you got this whole piece kind of hanging out the back with no one to support it. It makes it pretty tricky. So that is a finished sheet. Holy moly. Boom. Oh. Oh yeah. That looks really nice. They all seem nice and consistent. Got a nice opening on them all, which is good. Yeah, they all look really nice. All right, well there you have it. 261 louvers later, we were able to get the rear panel, the trunk lid, and the top of the hood punched out. And I'm really pleased with the way they came out. I think it's a really nice spacing, nice style louver, nice size. I really like the 3-inch louver for sure. And yeah, it's always so nice to be able to use that sort of jig setup, and it definitely makes the process a lot faster. And you know, it really helps you align. You can get really close and almost on contact to make sure that you have them square. I'm really pleased with the way they turned out. So, but yeah. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that and learned something, you know, kind of with setting it all up and kind of how I do my layout. We do have a few test panels up there that I just punched in some aluminum and a bit of steel. And if you guys ever need sort of, you know, like just a simple row, if you're welding them into anything, or if you guys want something louvered, definitely reach out to us via our email. And we'll be able to get back to you guys and see if we can kind of help you. Make sure you like, subscribe, hit notifications, and we'll see you next week on another episode of Bennett's Customs.